Hey everybody, welcome to another Sunday morning conversation. Today my guest is Canadian pro triathlete Jackson Landry. He's fresh off the Collins Cup win and St. George Championships, the 70.3. And I think we're going to have a great conversation today. I hope you enjoy. Thank you and have a good one.
Good evening.
Hey amigo, how's it going?
Good. Yeah, really sorry I'm late here. I have another podcast at 8 and I clicked the wrong link and I was like, where the hell is this guy? Yeah, sorry about that. Anyways, no reason. How's it going with you?
Uh, um, I've been cleaning my house and doing stuff around the house all week because I'm going to Memphis 70.3 on Thursday, and it's a 6-hour drive from Atlanta to Memphis. So it's like, all right, I got to get all this stuff done, plus manage to do some training in here too. So
Yeah, I know how it is. Except for me, it's easier because that's the only thing I have to deal with, and I'm sure you have more other responsibilities in life.
yeah, and I mean, I managed, but I always try to. My ex got me into cleaning before you go on vacation. So like, you have a nice clean house to come home to. It's like, yeah, but then I'm gonna bring home a bunch of bags and I'm not gonna unpack all week.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my method too.
Have you unpacked yet from Worlds?
Yes, I have done that. Unfortunately, I don't get to leave stuff as much as I would like because my fiance doesn't like that, which is fair. So usually I just leave them one day and then they got to be
Oh,
dealt with.
I'm no longer with the ex, so mine get left for a little bit longer
Yeah.
until I need something out of them.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
there you go.
that performance at World was, I don't want to say it was unexpected for me because I'm like, wow, he is just killing it. Did you think you could do that? I mean, is that what you were expecting going in?
Yeah, that was like definitely not a surprise, but I wasn't taking it for granted. That's for sure. But I knew I was capable of that, and I just had to do perform up to my capabilities, which is kind of why I directed my whole season and altitude camp and everything around that race. So yeah, it was, I would say, like, I was pretty sure I would be able to do it. I just had to focus on the task at hand and let the performance take care of itself.
How did you feel going up Snow Canyon? I've never been to St. George, so I mean, I've heard people compare it to, like, it's in Georgia we have the Appalachian Mountains, so there's the gaps. They said it's not as hard as climbing the mountains and in the gaps, but it was so hard.
Yeah, it's not that steep and it kind of varies on the steepness, so it's not too bad. I felt pretty good at that point. I actually kind of led the group I was with up there, and I felt pretty strong. And I also come off a camp where pretty much all I did was climb, so that wasn't too bad. Honestly, it was easier than like the first half hour of the race, which was just really, really hard to try to get into that group there. Um, so I would say I definitely felt that was the best I ever climbed it, and that's the first time I've done it in a race. So it was pretty solid.
I remember the last Worlds that you competed in was Nice, and you had that crash. How do you feel? And you had a couple surgeries. How do you feel after that now? Back to normal?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think new normal. Like things are different for sure. With swimming, it's not really a limiter, but my stroke's a little different. My shoulder clicks every time I take a stroke, and that's just the way it's going to be forever. But it doesn't seem to slow me down. It kind of holds me back in some other things in life that aren't important, but just like, you know, throwing a ball or, playing some other sports, it's just never going to be able to do some of those things very well again. But for training wise, yeah, I feel good. It doesn't really affect me, which is obviously great. I actually think I've definitely gotten better at swimming since then. So, gave me a chance to focus on some other things and think about life and what, I could do better in triathlon. And yeah, so definitely I'm better now than I was then. Not because I had the surgeries, but because I had the time to kind of think about things.
Yeah, I've kind of got a similar experience. I was riding my bike to work for off-season miles, and I got hit by a Tahoe head-on going about 60 miles an hour. I ended up with a brain injury out of that. So I
Yeah.
can completely understand the whole new normal thing.
Yeah. Jeez. Well, it was nothing like that. I mean, luckily for me, I didn't have any kind of brain injuries or things like that. But yeah, it was all just orthopedic damage for me.
I mean, good thing it
That's not
happened
too
in
bad.
France too, because I mean, well, you get like a $25 hospital bill. That's it. I hear it's ridiculous when you.
Literally, it was like $500 or something.
That's
I
still
didn't have any of the surgeries there. All they did was some X-rays and stuff like that. But and obviously like a little bit of stitches and things like that for minor cuts. But yeah, it wasn't very expensive.
What do you think of the Collins Cup? I'm sure we have different perspectives on this because I mean, I was watching it through my laptop and you were competing in it. But the way it felt for me watching it, it was like milk toast, if you know what the word means.
It was like what?
Milk toast, if you've ever heard the word. It's kind of
Milk
like,
toast.
okay, this is kind of cool, but it wasn't particularly exciting. There was no drama or anything like that. And
Yeah.
because like you had 12 matches, you're splitting in between yours. It's like, it's not like a whole race where you're following it and you have, everybody's in the chain on the bike. It wasn't just no drama, and then you couldn't really focus on one particular people, and like the bike got ignored. I didn't know what your experience like as somebody who competed in it.
Yeah. Well, I did watch it after the fact, and I would say a similar sentiment to how it kind of was televised. I think the races themselves were a lot more exciting than what they were able to capture. Um, and being in the race was quite cool. Like it was actually so cool to be there and see the other races happening as you're out on course. You can kind of on the bike, especially, you see people going, within their race doing a certain, doing well or not on your team. And it was pretty motivating to do that. And for my race specifically, it was pretty exciting. Like I knew it was going to be a close race and it came down to the wire. So that was cool. But yeah, I think they can definitely capture those battles a little bit more. And it's tough, like you said, when there's 12 races, there's a lot they can kind of improve on there. So I think, yeah, not missing some of the things, because a lot of like passes happen that they didn't really manage to catch. So finding a way to like have somebody spotting when these things that are exciting are going to happen and sort of switching over to the focus on that, I think would be pretty beneficial.
Yeah, the bike was actually the least covered thing out of all of it. I just didn't remember seeing a lot of it.
Yeah, there wasn't too much on the bike. And when there was, it was kind of certain matches they showed a few times, but they never seemed to show it kind of at the right time, if that makes sense. Like it kind of
Yeah, they're
seemed
just
like they
hanging
had
out there all by
pre-planned it.
themselves, and it's like there's nothing interesting about it.
Yeah, they kind of pre-planned, I think, when and where they would show them. So they did show a couple matches where there's people close together. But for example, when they showed us on the bike, me and Justin Metzler were kind of at the front, and then it showed Joe like catching us, like coming close to catching us. And it would have probably been interesting for people to see like what happens when Joe catches. Are they going to hang on? Or is he going to put in a surge? Like, and then they just cut to a different match that really had nothing going on. And that's the kind of thing where they need to be a little bit more flexible with like who they're going to show and when and stuff.
Yeah, because like when they do it like that, it just like I'm watching someone train. It's just like,
Yeah. Yeah, you can find that on YouTube all you want.
yeah, and I mean the PTO must have been like 3-4 weeks after that, because they're like nonstop on Instagram, clip after clip. It's like, okay, this has been over for a while now. Let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't think Ironman shares a whole lot with them in terms of like content. So there's not a huge amount that, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's just like anything, they post what they've got, right? So they've got to start trying to find ways to get a little bit more media in between other events, for sure. But yeah, they pushed that race really hard, and I mean, it was cool to be a part of it. And I think definitely the coverage didn't quite capture how exciting it was to be there and to actually be part of that and be part of a team. That was actually very, very cool, and motivating, and kind of, it really did give you the extra push to kind of go and try to win, right?
Yeah, even though you're part of a team, I mean, it would be cool if there was a way to. I don't really know how to phrase this, but everybody knows, like in pro cycling, when you're on the tour, you're working in a team as a team. Like if there was a way you could work together and still do the race, maybe something like that would be more interesting. But I don't know how you could actually do that.
Yeah, I've heard like a couple people's random ideas, team time trial kind of thing for the bike portion might be cool. There could be some tactics there, but yeah, not too sure. I mean, or you just send everybody off at the same time, and then you're still competing on it like for yourself, but your points count as a team, like with cross country running or something. That's how that works.
Yeah.
And that's pretty exciting too. So you're trying to like, you know, um, do well against your teammates, but also mostly against everybody else. So it's another thought.
Yeah.
I
How
mean, I
is
think the format has potential as it is. Like, I do think it can be quite exciting. I just think having 12 matches go on at the same time, maybe not the best way to do it. Like perhaps, having 6 that happen at once on 2 separate, blocks where one's one day and one's the next or something. So you can actually really see what's going on. Because 12, it's just impossible not to miss exciting moments in those races.
now? I remember reading on the Collins Cup before, or the website before it launched, that you guys were going to be mic'd up for it. It looked like you had the battery pack in your back, but there was nothing about being mic'd up in the broadcast.
Yeah, so there was one men's match and one women's match where the people were mic'd up, but with the weather, like it poured rain, and I think it basically broke the the mics, which is like not great. But I know in the men's match, one of the guys crashed, and so his mic became like dislodged or something. They did try to use it, but yeah, we didn't all have mics. Those weren't battery packs. They were the GPS units, so that they could see like the time splits to where we were compared to each other on course. So that was what everybody had, and then a couple people had the mics, which were set up just for the bike, and they were on their bike and kind of integrated into their helmet and stuff like that.
That's what I figured they were going to do. Kind of like an NFL quarterback's got the speaker in there for their helmet for the to get the signals from the offensive coordinator.
Right. Yeah, that was the idea. I think it would have worked if it wasn't like a crazy rainstorm right before the men's race started. So kind of
Yeah, it wasn't that long either, but it was enough to wet the course to cause a couple crashes, because Holly and Lionel did.
Yeah, Holly, Lionel, so did what's his name? Kyle Smith, so did Sam Appleton. So 3 out of the crashes were all on the internationals team. And then it actually rained, like it rained a lot, and then it actually did rain off and on during the men's race as well. It was enough to keep the roads wet, like they never dried out. So that was what caused so much, because if it was just the one rain, it would have dried up, but it just kind of kept raining just enough.
Yeah. What did you think about that Zwift the Pro Tri Series during the whole pandemic? While we weren't racing, I don't know. It sounds boring to me.
Yeah, it wasn't boring to race. I mean, like it's all relative, right? Like if there's a Zwift Pro Tri Series going on right now, nobody cares because there's real racing. But at the time, it was fun. It was something we could do. It was a way to earn a little bit of income and kind of give your fan, like, put something to put on Instagram for your fans and your sponsors, and something to get excited about because we had nothing else, right? So same with that Ironman VR. It wasn't, it wasn't a real race, but the really cool thing about it for me is that like you don't really have to go anywhere. There's no expenses. Like for a pro to go and do that, even if you get last, you get no money. Who cares? Like it's just a training day, right? So it was kind of cool for that. But yeah, as soon as races came back, I was like, I don't really, nobody really cared about it anymore, which is fair. I do think it was great to have, because I mean, there was nothing to do. So, but I also don't blame people for not watching it. Like it's not a triathlon, so kind of different thing.
Did you just hang out and train with Taylor and Cody? Do you guys live by each other in the Canada? Because I
Yeah,
see
we
you on
all live in
Instagram.
the
I didn't know if you
same
hung out all pandemic.
Pretty much, yeah. We all live in the same city. So last year we trained together all year, and we even went to a couple of, at least one kind of training camp up at a cottage and just train together and did what we could. But yeah, it's pretty cool to live together. I mean, we all live within 3 miles of each other or less, so um, easy to meet up for workouts all the time.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, I think
You all grow up
it used
there?
to be, no, none of us did. Well, Cody grew up in Fergus, which is like really close to Guelph, but and actually Taylor grew up in Caledon, I believe, which is close to Guelph as well, but I grew up few hours east. Um, I went here for university and then just stayed. The other guys came because Guelph was kind of a hotbed for triathlon. There was a lot of ITU athletes training here. And there was like a national training center here at one point. So that kind of brought a lot of people. So we kind of all amalgamated in Guelph. And now the national training center is not here anymore, but the coach is still here that coached it, and he still coaches some pros. And then my coach coaches a few pros, and he's in Guelph. So just, we just kind of all came together.
What did you think of Taylor's haircut and the braids for the Worlds? What are your opinions on that?
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, he's always kind of got a different style and a different flair about what he does. So I think it was good for him. I mean, obviously he didn't have the race he wanted, but it's you know, it's not a hairstyle I could pull off, but he seems to be able to do it.
Yeah. Have you seen him since the crash? Because I sent him a message to ask him if he's doing all right, and with the stitches and everything. You
Yeah.
talk to him? With him?
Yeah, I have. He's doing fine. He's kind of feeling better and hoping to still race this weekend. You're going there too in Memphis, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, so it'll kind of, we'll see if he's able to feel fine. Like, he hasn't done too much hard stuff, so I think it's a bit of a question mark, but I think it'll be all right. The road rash was pretty bad, but hopefully he didn't really have a head injury or anything like that.
He said he didn't have a concussion, so I'm like, well, that's good. I've been through that process before with a crash.
Yeah, no, it was nothing like that where you had a vehicle. I think he just kind of went down and slid. So
What are the road conditions like where you live? Because I mean, I grew up in Ohio, and that's lake effect snow belt, but you're north. You don't actually get lake effect snow or anything like that. So they probably don't. The roads aren't as chewed up as they were where I lived.
yeah, it depends. Like, Guelph is pretty good. He was in St. George though when that happened, where the roads are okay in St. George. I find there's not like a lot of potholes or big issues, but like none of the roads are smooth. They just like don't use pretty much asphalt. They just use like chip seal. So it's just
Yeah.
always a bit of a rough surface, I find. So, but he just hit a pothole or something. But yeah, up here, it's hit and miss. My neighborhood's terrible roads here. They just don't repave them here, I guess. But yeah, there's some pretty good ones, and it's a mix. We get frost and stuff all the time, so like the roads get chewed up from the winter like crazy. So they don't last too long. When you do have a new road, it's maybe nice for 5 years, and then it kind of starts to get all freeze cracks and all that stuff.
Yeah, Ohio roads don't last even that because they use the. I don't know if you're really heavy on that brine shit, that salt solution. They do that here rather than the rocks in Ohio rather than the rock salt.
Here they use salt.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely salt here. No sand. Some provinces they use sand, so the salt destroys your cars. But I mean, there's plus and minus to everything. But yeah, it's not great for vehicles or the environment, but it's good for getting this ice off the roads, I guess.
Yeah. Well, last thing I wanted to ask you is I saw you did Barrelman. I've always wanted to do that, but I haven't been up to Ohio much to go to Canada.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about the race?
Um, it is a fast course. Typically, it's a very flat course, and it's usually a net tailwind on the bike because it's a 2 point transit. It's like a point to point. So really good there. Runs a little tougher. There's some hills, but yeah, it's pretty good. Oddly, it just by chance, it's always been a really hot race, even though it's in September in Ontario. But that's most years. It's going to be pretty cool. It's just hot the few times I did it. Yeah, it's nice. It's good. It's not a big, huge production like Ironman stuff, but it's well organized and a good race. They put up a little bit of usually a prize purse for local pros, so that's cool too. Good course if you want to go get a PB on the bike for sure.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, I'm used to doing hillier stuff. Either that or I go down the Gulf Coast where it's bone flat and it's just out and back. You go past a dog track and a bunch of trees.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not quite that basic. There's quite a few turns, but it's pretty flat and you can keep your momentum going. So it's pretty flat. It's really flat. There's not really a hill to speak of.
Awesome. Hey, man, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Take it easy. And are you done for the season?
No, I have an Ironman. Don't know why I had to think about that. Ironman Mallorca.
You're
In
going all the way to
Spain.
Spain.
Yeah. So I'm getting married the following weekend. So that was kind of the
In
last
Mallorca?
possible weekend. No, at home here in Ontario. That was the last possible weekend I could race. And there happened to be an Ironman. I did want to get an Ironman in this year. And then I thought about, well, maybe I do it later in the year, but I don't want to get married and go on my honeymoon and have to try to think about training. Like that sounds terrible. So gonna get that race in, and it's only a few weeks away, so can't be too bad to train for Ironman for a few weeks. So it's been fun. So it should be a good one.
I've heard worse plans. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think you probably do fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I think a lot of people go into an Ironman and, you know, they kind of overthink it and overdo it and end up overtrained, if anything. And I don't think I'll be at risk of that. I've got lots of fitness and I've just got a few weeks of specificity now. And, it's a good learning. Like I'm fully planning to and preparing for having a really good race. But also I know it's kind of an unknown area and it takes some learning to kind of get a feel for the distance and the nutrition and hydration, all those things. So might as well start that learning process soon and see how it goes and, go from there.
Well, good luck, man. And let me congratulate you early on the wedding.
Oh, thanks very much. Appreciate that. Yeah,
All right. Take it easy.
cool. See ya.